Hi, I'm Chuck Cannon, and you are watching Takingdiabetesheadon.com. Periodically, we bring in people with diabetes to share their experiences with us. They're not only sharing their experiences, but they are sharing their hopes, their fears, their doubts, their dreams, battles won and battles lost. So today we have with us Mr. Alan Sherman, and we are glad to have you.
Thank you.
And we want, as part of our peer-to-peer series, we do a reality show where we talk about diabetes in every way that can be real. And it's been often said, and appropriately, that if you don't take control of diabetes, it will take control of you. So, can you introduce yourself to our viewers, Alan, and tell them about yourself?
I can do that. My name is Alan Sherman. I've been diabetic for close to 30 years now, and I take diabetes head on.
Good. So tell me, how old were you when this diagnosis was made?
I was 40 years old, and it was my 40th birthday present to myself.
So it's almost 3 decades.
Yes.
Okay. Under what circumstances did they diagnose it? Incidentally, or did you have a problem, or how did it go?
Well, the 3 steps that we know as frequent urination, vision, and thirst all hit me at one time. And I knew nothing about what was going on. And working in the hospital, all the people were friends of mine. They said, well, let's do some lab work on you. And they found that my A1C was 10 or 12, and my blood glucose at that time was 609. And I didn't know what was normal and what wasn't, because as a respiratory therapist, I didn't know about the kidneys. And they said, congratulations, Alan, you're now diabetic. And I said, I can't be. I'm too healthy. But when I went from 200 pounds down to 165 in 3 weeks, I said, something's going on.
The kind of weight loss you don't want.
There you go.
So how did you deal with this? I know you worked in a hospital,
Right.
and you were amongst medical professionals. Had you known people with diabetes in your family?
Not at all.
So was there a lot of denial, like many instances, or did you accept this and say, well, I can deal with this?
Well, I'm kind of a weird person. I accept everything that I'm told. I'm the kind of person that says, I want to live forever. And whoever I can find that can help me, I'm willing to do anything I can do.
I see that attitude has stood you very well over the last 30 years or so.
Right.
So when you were told this, did you have to make a whole lot of change in the way you live?
I had to change my diet. I was a big eater, and I loved pasta. And
Who doesn't?
There you go. There you go. And everybody I talked to said, well, you don't have to do this. And I said, yes, I do. And they said, well, you can eat sugar this and you can eat that. And I said, I can't do that. Oh, yeah, but you look good. Yeah, but I don't feel that great. And this is how it went on. And then diabetic camps came along. And one of the men that put the camps together said, we need counselors. And I said, well, I've worked with kids before, but they were kind of, I can do this and I can do that, and you can't tell me what to do. And I thought, well, here we go. And I tried to make an excuse not to go to camp, and I wound up going anyway. And the first year that I was up there and I was signing the children in, one little boy said, well, I'm in cabin 2. That's the worst cabin in the world. And I thought, oh my God, I'm in cabin 2. What did I let myself in for? But the whole week went fantastically well.
So this is very interesting. By the way, Alan is also a patient of mine, and a model one at that. So when you were diagnosed, you have often told me this story, how they told you that you need to go become a counselor in a camp. Right. That must have sounded rather strange to you, because here you are struggling with a new diagnosis, and there they are telling you, you need to go and help out others.
Right.
Now, how long have you been doing this?
This will be my 23rd year.
Wow. And give us a little bit of idea as to what you bring to these youngsters with type 1 diabetes.
The first year that I came, I knew nothing about diabetes, and the kids taught me. And one of the boys that was in my cabin said, "If you ever want to know about diabetes, ask a child. Don't ask an adult." And they were
Spoken
very
so
true.
well.
Very true.
Spoken. Did you find that your adjustment to the diabetes, the world of diabetes, became a little different viewed from the point of view of a young or a child with diabetes?
Yes, very much so.
Can you tell us about that?
The children that come to camp, a lot of kids have never given their own insulin shots. They learn all this at camp. It's a teaching experience, but it's taught in a non-structured way where the kids are going to learn whether they want to or not, and don't realize that they're learning. By the end of camp, they can do everything that the adults can do.
I'd like to come back to this and get your perspective on what are the things that kids do good and what are the things they don't do good. But let's focus on you. Was there a turning point in your life when diabetes took on the role of a monster?
Yeah. What had happened was, for some reason or another, my kidneys were starting to fail, and I didn't know it until I had cataract surgery done. In the first cataract surgery, they took my blood pressure, and the blood pressure was fine. And the second eye that they did, they said, your blood pressure is 175 over 125. And I said, there's something wrong with your meter because my blood pressure is never that high. And when I went back to my primary care doctor and they did blood work, they said, well, your pressure's up and your kidneys are starting to fail. And when I went to a nephrologist, we worked on that and worked on it, and he said, your GFR is going down. And at that time, I didn't know what a GFR was. And they explained all that to me.
GFR, parenthetically for our audience, is a surrogate marker for kidney function because the kidney is a filter, and this GFR is the filtration rate. Now, I want you to focus on when was this diagnosis of declining renal, chronic kidney disease made? When you were?
In 2013.
So, okay. So, think of the control you had over your diabetes before. How would you characterize that? Were you somebody well controlled before this hit you? Or were you not so well controlled? What do you feel?
I was partially under control because I was watching my diet, and the weight had started to pick up again, and my sugars were fine. But
so this came as a bolt from the blue.
It did. It did.
At that time, when you were told this, did you have any clue that this is going to only get worse and worse, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel other than perhaps another train?
No, I thought that it was going to end as soon as I found out about it and could go on medication. I thought that was going to be it. And when I went to a kidney doctor, he says, well, you're going to need to go on dialysis. And I thought, that's the end of my life. And it's just like with diabetes, when somebody's first diagnosed, you're going to put me on insulin. That's it for me. But I learned that if you work for yourself, you have to love yourself first. And if you work for yourself and try to show people what's happening, you do well.
Very well said, because after all, this is ultimately in your hands.
Right.
There's no physician or provider who can do what you're doing.
True.
So I've heard people with diabetes tell me the most terror-striking moment is when the D word, dialysis, is used.
Right.
Did you go, how long did it take for you to get hemodialysis after they told you, gee, your kidneys are not functioning well?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
My GFR would go down and down and down.
And you were still in your early 50s?
Yeah.
Okay. How long were you on dialysis?
2 years.
2 years. And what is the thing you hated about it and the thing that you tolerated about it?
The funny part about it, the only thing I hated about it was getting up early in the morning and have to go for dialysis.
What time was that?
5:30 in the morning.
Oh, you had to leave
for
very
4
early.
hours, yeah.
Okay.
But I said, look, you're saving my life, and I'll do whatever I have to do.
Did you make many friends in the unit?
I did.
I've heard that
it was like
a
a
lot.
family there.
That you see the same people,
Yeah.
and you begin to share their experiences. So did they put you on a transplant list right away, or
Within the first couple of months that I was diagnosed, they put me on a transplant list.
and you still were going to the camps, counseling, and
Right.
did the people there know that you were now in another phase?
They did.
They did.
The kids were all told, and the counselors were all told. And I would leave. Camp was a week long, and I would leave on Tuesday and Thursday because that was my dialysis
Yeah,
days.
yes.
I'd leave at about 4:30 in the morning and go down for dialysis and drive back up to camp and resume my activities. And everybody said, "How can you do that?" I said, "I do it because I want to."
What seems to me like you were drawing energy from this,
Absolutely.
and it was giving you a certain power over this horrible disease. So, come transplant time, did they expect you will have a match, or did that come as a surprise? Did they call you in the middle of the night and say, "We've got a kidney for you"?
They called me at 7 o'clock at night and they said, "Come down. We have a kidney for you, and we're going to transplant you." And I thought, "You're hitting me too fast with this. I can't pick it up that quick." And I called everybody I could. Should I go? Should I wait for the artificial kidney? Should I go down? What should I do? My wife says, "As long as you promise you're going to come back home, you should go down." So I went down,
Bless her
had
heart.
the transplant done. Within 3 months, I was back to my old self again. And I've been going ever since.
Now, before the transplant and before the dialysis, were you on insulin at all earlier on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
So you needed insulin along with whatever else you were taking
Right.
to control you.
Right.
And how did things go? Was it a very rough post-operative period for you, or?
Only for the first couple of weeks, and
weeks.
that's because of the incision. And when they cut you, and they don't use stitches anymore, they use staples. And the staples don't give like stitches do. So when you go to get up or go to sit down,
It
and it
hurts.
pulls, it hurts. But outside of that, I did
That
well.
was good. And then your control began to deteriorate
Right.
because of all the meds you were taking. Okay. So you seems like you have gone through a lot in terms of diabetes-related complications.
True.
Is the kidney the only one that got hit, or were there other organs that also paid the price, like your eyes or your heart? Anything regarding that?
Believe it or not, it was only the kidney.
So they were pretty sure it was diabetes related, or
Yeah.
okay, they worked you up for everything else. And we don't see that a lot often, because when you get nephropathy, usually the other accompaniments are already playing the horrible music with the eyes and with the neuropathy. You never seem to have had any of those.
No.
So that's really lucky. So, everybody who is watching has known somebody with diabetes and a major complication. This one is as major as it gets. What can you tell our viewers who are wondering, what do I do to handle this? What advice would you give them?
I'd say find your educators, find your diabetic doctor. If you're a kidney transplant, stay with the kidney team, and listen to what they tell you to do, because they know they've been through this with other patients. You're not the first, and you won't be the last.
And it would kind of help if your diabetes doctor is a diabetic doctor too.
There you go.
Because they understand walking in your shoes to some
Absolutely.
extent than somebody who's never done that. That is, during this whole period, was there ever you gave up hope?
No, believe it or not, a lot of my relatives were diagnosed after me,
Oh,
and they were on the East Coast, and I'd get phone calls like 3 or 4 times a week. My sugar is this high. What do I do? Or I can't get it to go down. Or they just diagnosed me. What should I do? And I'd be telling them over the phone. And I had an aunt that was diagnosed, and she says, "Well, these people tell me this, and these people tell me that." I said, "Don't listen to them. From now on, you call me." And this is what happened. I worked with all, and everybody said, "Well, don't you want to move back east?" I said, "No."
Oh,
No. No.
thank goodness you did not. These kids who go to the camps would certainly miss you. So focus a little bit about the camps, the joy of your life. How often is it? Who comes? How do they get there? What do you do there? That sort of thing.
I have 2 camps that I work at. One is in Mount Potosi. That's a week. It's about 4 days long. They have education They have hiking, they have games to play and everything. They also have diabetic education every morning. We have 33 kids in that camp, which is usually a spring break. The other camp is called Camp Buck, and that's located in Portola, California.
Oh,
And we've gone from 33 kids from down here to 108 kids up there. And we always have a waiting list.
isn't that interesting? So you've been a counselor for 23 years.
23 years.
Are there other people who have been there that long?
No.
No, I didn't
No.
think so.
No.
So when you say education, who does that? You or
The nurses do
the
that.
nurses do that? It's a very committed,
Right.
very committed camp. And what do the kids take out of this?
They learn about insulin.
So-
They learn the different kinds of insulin. They learn if they've never given their own shots or never drawn up their own medication. They learn how to do that also. And at the end, we have a final campfire night, and the little kids are presented with certificates that
Wow.
you gave your own shot or you drew up your own insulin. And most of the times when kids come back from camp, parents will say to me, they have really changed. They really knew what they did. We can let them go out by themselves now.
Do the same kids come back year after year? Or you
For the
renew?
most part, we do.
Okay.
For the most part. What we had planned to do when I first started, when I talked to the executive director, she says, I would like to see a camp where all the counselors are diabetic. And for the most part, Camp Buck is just about all of my little kids that have grown up.
Beautiful. Now, looking at you and hearing what you're saying, it looks like you are continuing your life completely untouched or unmarred by diabetes. How do you do that? You check a lot, you do a lot of decisions throughout
Right.
the day.
Right.
And what do you do when you're not camping?
I coach basketball. I always try to stay active. I work out 3 days a week. I do a lot of dog walking. And basically that's it. And watch what I eat.
You exercise a lot.
Exercise.
And many people think when their kidneys decline, their life is over. You are a classic example to refute that
Right.
and to indicate that with proper control and with the proper advice, you can live life with diabetes, although it has not touched you at all. Is that a correct
Very,
impression?
very correct. Very true with that.
Do you have any advice for people who are down in the despair that once dialysis starts, it's the beginning of the end? Is there anything you can tell them that'll lift them up, give them a little hope?
Work with your staff. You're going to be depressed every once in a while. That comes with any disease. But work on it and live for yourself first. If you live for yourself, then you're going to do well with others. And like you say, I thrive on the kids that come up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had kids come up to me and say, "You don't remember who I am," and I'll call them out by name and they'll say, "How do you remember me? It's been a few years since I." But that's it. I do. I make a habit of knowing who these kids are, and each child is an individual, just like an adult, and you have to treat them as such. You can't treat every kid the same way, and it works out nicely.
I think the gift you gave these kids, in a way, came back as a donor kidney for you. And that's very comforting because now you continue to do the same thing over and over again. Are there any interesting / hilarious stories from the camp that you can share?
There is. One of the kids had asked me if I would write a book on the camps, and I thought, I can't write a book because it's in here, and if you try to put it on paper, it just doesn't come out right. The first year I was up there, one of my little kids said, woke me up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom because at that time in Lake Tahoe, the restroom was on the other side of the camp, and the kids were supposed to wake up the counselors, and of course they woke me up, and I'm coming out of a deep sleep, and I hear an ow, ow, and I thought, who's that? And he said, it's me. I said, what's up? And he's mumbling, and I don't know what he's saying. So I started walking to the medical cabin because I thought he needed to go to I started walking into the bathroom, and he's walking towards the medical cabin, and I thought, where are you going?
Where are you going?
I said, the restroom's over here. He says, I'm going to the medical cabinet. I said, why are you going there? He says, because I'm low. I said, what's that mean? I didn't know. It was my first.
He was going to get glucose tablets
I
or
said,
glucagon.
how do you know you're low? He says, I had a cold sweat and I had a bad dream and that's how I know I was low. I said, really? I said, is that how you know these things? But I learned right along with everybody else, and I never argued with them. Said, well, you don't know, because kids do know. I have lots of respect for kids.
And it's so true that the patient knows more about their own bodies and responses than anybody else. So, any new plans that you're hatching up for the future in the camps?
I'd like to just stay with the camps as long as I can.
That's good.
Every year I think to myself, well, maybe they don't want me there anymore because I'm a little bit older than them. But then I hear voices from the kids say, oh, you have to come back. So
from what I hear, you are an icon in the camp circuit.
Thank you.
And I think you will never stop doing what you love.
Can't do it.
And that's very important. Well, I think we are coming to the end of our show. I'm so glad you could join us. And I'm Chuck.
And I'm Al. And I am taking diabetes head on.
And we would like for you to keep watching our show head on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.